Hi, my name's Nick with Machine Gun Dad. Welcome back to the channel. Today, on this episode of our Field Strip series, we have an Astra Model 600-43. This one is in 9mm parabellum, unlike the last Astra we did from the Spanish wartime contracts that they did. That one was in 9mm Largo, which is a pain to get a hold of. It's like just over $1 a round. This one is way more cost effective and just as complicated to take apart. So, without further ado, we've moved in close. First step on disassembly is to show clear, and also is the first step in taking this firearm apart. You need to have the hammer cocked, so pop that to the rear, show clear. Now this weapon system does have a magazine disconnect, so drop the mag to drop the rest. Now that the hammer is cocked, the first step is this bushing ring at the front. You probably can just barely see it because you can see the barrel here and the other slightly wider ring around it. That's your bushing. Easy way is to use the magazine that comes with it to push down on that bushing ring, and there's a 90-degree cut on the inside on both sides. I'll be able to show you whenever I take it apart that you're going to push down on that and rotate this cup and the whole thing's going to come off. It is all under spring tension, so you got to be careful about that. If you're not careful, it could fly off the front end of the gun and bounce up, bounce down, and smack you on the top of the head. Don't ask how I know. So, first step, push that bushing down, rotate. Once you rotate it even a little bit, before you've gotten to that cutout, the bushing will stay down, so you only need it to push down just a little bit and then kind of rotate till you find that little spot. See how much spring tension that had. I was trying to hold on to it and it launched it back that far. Be careful with this. You'll see right down there the two little cuts and then the grooves that line up with the two cuts on the bushing. That is what you're trying to line up on assembly and disassembly. So another weird part about this gun is the next step is pulling it to the rear, and on the inside you have to kind of line up the slide with a certain spot in the receiver. You'll kind of feel it start to drag, and you're actually going to, when you find it, it can be a bit difficult. A lot of this gun is just fiddling around with it until you find the right spot. Because there are half cuts on the bottom of the gun. There. That continuous little ramp right there is what you're looking for to rotate the barrel to the right. And then your slide will come off the front end. Take the barrel, rotate it until the cuts are facing up and the whole barrel comes out the front. Alright, now that that's disassembled, let's go ahead and get back into reassembly. First step of reassembly is going to require a little bit of additional information. Make sure that your cuts are facing upwards again. Push all the way to the rear. Not all the way to the rear. You push halfway back, and once it starts to freely rotate is when you know you're in those cuts. One thing to note, big difference. You notice how whenever you spin it too far, the barrel will stick up. If you do that, it will drag on the inside of your grip frame and cause problems putting it back together. Easy way to know when to stop is this little extractor cutout right here on the bottom end of the barrel. Make sure that is parallel with the rest of the bottom. And to keep that in location when you go to put your grip frame back on is do that bit upside down, run it the whole way through, all the way to the rear, And then once again, push it forward until you get that right there, that continuous feed ramp right there, where it looks like the whole feed ramp runs up into the barrel. And then you'll be able to rotate. Push that forward and you'll know you did it right whenever you see that the extractor there, that little silvered piece, lines up with the hole in the barrel. That's where it's supposed to be. Now for the fun part. Taking your spring and your bushing and putting it back together. There's a lot of spring tension here. You got to be careful with it. You see how this little cap right here lines up with the bushing here. This is how it's supposed to be when it's locked. You want it to be in the unlocked position where they are parallel with each other. That is going to line up with those cutouts in here. So you're going to take your bushing and your spring, compress it all the way down, as far down as you will go, and then rotate to the side. You will know it's in the right position when this little bushing here snaps back out under spring tension. So make sure that these are lined up and slot it into these holes. Lined up. Push all the way down. Get it into that cutout all the way down. This is the fun part where you're just sitting here and trying to get it to line up. There, see how it went in? You can rotate it a little bit to the side and now it's captive, but it's not set because you can see the bushing is not popped out. Rotate a little further until you hit the spot where that bushing pops back out. That is what you're looking for, because if this is not exposed more, that means it's not locked. That means any rotation in the opposite direction on this will send this entire piece flinging off the front end. And that does not feel very good when it hits you. So, there is your reassembled Astra. It's a little more complicated than you would think, but then again, this is like an 80, 90-year-old gun, and they did things a bit differently back then. Let's move back out. Fully reassembled and functional. There is our video on the Astra model 643 in 9mm Parabellum. I would like to thank you for coming to the channel. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Field Strip series for a very odd piece to take apart. There are not very many guns that require you to push a bushing down nowadays, so a little walk down firearms history lane. Thanks for coming to the channel. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Rumble, and please, please, please try and go over to Rumble as much as you can. YouTube is censoring as much crap as they possibly can, age restricting, demonetized. They're trying to get stuff they don't agree with off the platform in subtle but not so subtle ways. Just go over to Rumble, where people actually care about freedom of speech and being able to speak about stuff that's cool and show things that are cool instead of saying, hey, screw you and your entire livelihood. So please, follow us on Rumble. Thanks again.